Welcome back, my dear students. Welcome back to the last session of this chapter, Indian Contract Act of 1872. This is the 16th presentation, 16th session of this chapter from me, Sajjad Pasha, from Government First Grade College, Devanahalli. This session is on the topic remedies for the breach of contract. Remedies for breach of contract. In the previous session, we had a discussion on the discharge of contract. In that discharge of contract, there was a way of discharging by breach of contract. How a contract is discharged. We had discussed there about six ways of discharging the contract. One such way is the breach of contract. Breach is nothing but breaking, violating, breaking or violating. If one party or the other party or all the parties to the contract fail to discharge their duties, fail to perform their duties, or breaks the terms and conditions of the agreement or the contract, it leads to the breach of contract. Then, breach of contract also brings a closure to the contract, also brings an end to the contract. Now, if one party is agreed to uh, perform his duties, but if the other party is not doing it, because of which one party has to suffer for all such violations, for the breaking of the agreement by one party, then the other party is liable for the damages, he is liable for the remedies from the court of law. So the remedies are nothing but the benefits are the privileges provided by the court of law for the aggrieved party, for the person who has suffered due to the non-performance of the duties and obligations by the other party. So let us discuss what are such remedies, what are the privileges, what are the benefits provided by law to the aggrieved party, to the sufferer, to the person who has suffered due to the non-performance of the uh, contract by the other person. So, remedies for breach of contract. As I told, breach of contract means failure to do something that is required in a contract. When one party to the contract refuses or fails to do his or her part of the contract, or by his or her act makes of it impossible to perform obligations under the contract, it is called as breach of contract. In such a case, the aggrieved party gets a right to proceed against the party at fault. He can have, the aggrieved party, the sufferer, can take legal support against uh, the person, the other person. Then, what are the ways to breach a contract? How the contract is breached? There are two ways: anticipatory breach and the actual breach. Anticipatory breach means when the contract is breached, when the contract is broken, when one person fails to perform his responsibilities before the due date, before the date or the day on which the contract has to be performed, it is anticipatory breach. So, anticipatory breach refers to the breach of contract well before the time period of the date of performance. That is the anticipatory breach. So, this has clearly specified under section 39 of the Contract Act. Oh, when a person refuses to perform, when a person refuses to fulfill his promise before the due date, it is the anticipatory breach. Then the actual breach. Actual breach is breaking of the contract, violation of the terms and conditions on the due date of the contract, on the due date of the performance. On the particular day itself, when the duties are not fulfilled, it leads to actual breach of contract. Then actual breach can also occur during the course of the contract, during the course of the performance. If a part of the job, if a part of the work is done but not fully, it also leads to the actual breach of contract. Anyhow, both anticipatory breach as well as the actual breach brings an end to the contract. It also leads to the discharge of contracts, the completion or closing of the contract or termination of the contract. Then, what are the remedies available for the aggrieved person? So, in case of breach of contract, the aggrieved party is entitled to the following remedies. First one is he can sue for rescission of the contract. He can sue for rescission of the contract. Rescission means repealing. Repealing. He can approach the court. The aggrieved person can approach the court to cancel the contract, to cancel the agreement, because of the breach of contract by other person, it will be impossible for the another person to continue in the contract, to perform his responsibilities. That is sue for rescission of the contract. Say for example, a person has sold a person has sold a land to some other person. Before that, they came into an agreement, they entered into an agreement, that is agreement of sale of land. But the fact is not mentioned that there is a way, there is a passage uh, of, there is a passage for moving from this land to the other land. After some time, the buyer comes to know about this fact. Then he can approach the court to repeal the contract. He can approach the court for the rescission of the contract, because all the facts, all the material facts have not been disclosed, have not been revealed to the buyer at the time of entering into the agreement. Then the aggrieved person can also approach the court suing for the damages. Damages. So here, damages refers to either the aggrieved person can get the financial damages or compensation in the form of financial compensation, in the form of money, or in the form of performance of the contract, or in the form of a right over some property of the other person. So he can sue for the damages. So damages can be sued for the financial loss, or damages can, he can sue for damages for the loss of time, loss of mental peace, loss of the health. If any damage, either visible or invisible damages occur to the aggrieved person, he can sue for such damages. He can go for the court seeking for damages from the from the other person. He can also sue for injunction. Injunction is uh, a court order. Injunction is the court order which is prohibiting a person to do something or not to do something. That is, he can also, an aggrieved person can also take an injunction, a court order against the other person. Then he can also sue upon quantum merit. Quantum merit. Quantum merit means here sorry, quantum merit here means reasonable for the merit. Reasonable for the merit. The aggrieved person is entitled to sue for the damages as much as merited, as much as earned or deserved. That is, it is decided upon by the court how much to grant, how much to grant the compensation, how much to grant the remedy to the aggrieved person. Quantum merit, as much as merited. So it is all decided by the court. Recovery, whatever he has, the aggrieved person, if he has spent whatever the expenditure he has incurred, so he will be entitled to recover from the failing party. He will be he will be entitled to recover from the party at fault. Then he is also entitled to sue for specific performance. Here, the aggrieved person is not claiming for any damages, is not approaching the court for rescission of the contract, but he is approaching, the aggrieved person is approaching the court for specific performance. He will get the direction from the court to the party at fault to do his task, to perform his duties and responsibilities. So he can approach the court to sue for the performance of a specific job, specific task by the other person. So this is suing for specific performance. So these are the five legal remedies available for the aggrieved person for the breach of contract. Thank you very much, all my dear students. Thank you very much for viewing these sessions from session number 7 to session number 16. So I hope all of you must have understood the various aspects of Indian Contract Act 1872. Thank you. Thank you one and all. We'll meet with a new chapter. Thank you.